Oh my god, Resident Evil Requiem looks so rad! I'm gonna replay all my Resident Evil games to get ready for it! I'm gonna play Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil Code Veronica, Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 4... Huh? What? Huh? Okay, I think there's something wrong with my copy of Resident Evil 4. Survival horror games. God, how I love them. If you enjoy horror games even a little bit, you're probably more than familiar with the Resident Evil series and all the gameplay tropes it helped popularize. Fixed camera angles, tank controls, limited ammo, item and resource management, designated save points, tough as nails enemies you might want to run away from rather than fight, puzzles galore, the whole shebang. It's a formula that, when done well, is really good at creating a sense of paranoia, claustrophobia and urgency. And man, is it one people love. Through the 90s and 2000s, this particular gameplay style was absolutely synonymous with horror. And today you'll still find tons of indie horror games that use it, like Tormented Souls, Crow Country, Post Trauma, Heartworm, damn near anything Puppet Combo makes. Yeah, it's a style that's alive and kicking alright. With this in mind, it can be kinda hard to imagine that there actually was a time where video game developers and players alike were getting kinda sick of it and felt that horror games needed a breath of fresh air. And to many people, that breath of fresh air came out in January 2005 and was called Resident Evil 4. Overhauling the classic Resident Evil style, 4 moved the camera behind the protagonist's shoulder, heightened the focus on action, and jam-packed itself to the goddamn brim with QuickTime events. Yeah, I know you're laughing, but for real, back in the PS2 days, QuickTime events were considered super cool. For about a week until it got annoying. But anyway. While Resident Evil 4 became an iconic hit game, iconic enough that it got a remake a couple years back, it wasn't the only game that had the idea to modernize the survival horror genre. Enter Cold Fear, a game that tells the story of Coast Guardsman and former Special Forces agent Tom Hansen, who is sent aboard a Russian whaling boat called the Eastern Spirit during a terrible storm, only to then discover that it is full of Russian soldiers and horrific aquatic parasites that zombify their hosts. It's a high-seas horror action-adventure developed by Darkworks and published by Ubisoft, which had the misfortune of coming out on PC, Xbox and PlayStation 2 in March 2005, just 2 months after Resident Evil 4. And because of their similarities in gameplay, main character design and even basic monster concept, it was quickly written off as a shameless ripoff that had no saving graces to its name. Oof, talk about bad timing. Nowadays, Cold Fear doesn't really get brought up much when people talk about horror games from this era, and you guys know me, that just makes me more curious. I mean, I want to know for myself. Is the game really just a crappy Resident Evil 4 ripoff? Or does it have some stuff going for it that people are missing out on? So when I found out that the game is available on Steam for a couple of bucks, I knew I had to make a video about it. So roll on your raincoats, everybody. We're going in deep and we're gonna get wet. Crap, wait, I just realized how that sounds. Can we do another take? Well, Cold Fear wastes no time getting to the action. After a very explosive cutscene, you start right off on the deck of the Eastern Spirit in stormy weather, leaving you to find your way around and fend for yourself. And I gotta say, this actually looks pretty impressive for its time, and it immediately puts you on edge. The boat is a pretty unique location for this kind of game. It's always rocking even when you're indoors, there are giant waves that can knock you silly, and the constant movement makes aiming at enemies more difficult than you'd imagine at first. And all of this helps create a great sense of panic and chaos. This is a great start! Of course, you'll also notice right off the bat that, yep, this sure does look very similar to Resident Evil 4. But there is one massive and very welcome difference. Unlike Leon, who roots his ass to the ground, Hansen can actually move while aiming. Heck, you can even freely choose between aiming in an over-the-shoulder style or more classic fixed camera angle style. I mean, goddamn, way to show up Leon right out of the gate. And while having that option is great, I'm mostly stuck to the over-the-shoulder view. The game is just a lot easier that way. It doesn't take very long to realize that something is off on this ship. It's absolutely crawling with hostile Russian special forces, there's a woman locked up in one of the rooms, and the toilet has... seen better days. Oh man, I didn't realize American fast food chains delivered in international waters.
Wendy's, suck it down and bootleg.
And this is when we get to say hello to our main enemy of the game, the exocells, water-dwelling parasites that turn their host into violent zombies. That kinda sounds like Las Plagas, doesn't it? You know, non-English speaking folks driven mad by parasites will attack you on sight with whatever they have handy. Yeah, it's starting to get more obvious why people see this as a poor man's Resident Evil 4. I guess that's a couple stamps on my Resident Evil tropes bingo card. If I get full plate on this thing, I win an all-expenses-paid vacation to Raccoon City. Neat, huh? The main difference is that while Las Plagas occasionally morph into these parasitic monstrosities, the exocells straight up do not die unless you completely destroy the host's head, in a more classic zombie fashion. So you're always at risk of a corpse randomly attacking you or enemies getting back up right in the middle of a stressful situation if you don't take the extra time to take them out permanently. As a result of this, whenever I entered a new location, I usually found myself slowly walking through the hallways with my gun raised, shooting corpses in the head from a distance just to feel extra safe. It actually gets pretty tense sometimes. And to add to all this chaos, you'll sometimes even catch the exocells and the Russian forces duking it out, leaving you to fend for yourself in the crossfire. And I can't lie, it really did create a wonderfully tense mood. Like, I truly felt like a special agent slowly making my way through enemy territory and taking out potential threats on the way. So, you know what? So far, I'd say this is actually a really damn good game. Okay, I kinda messed up there, but, hopefully this isn't an omen or anything. As you continue to explore the ship, you're introduced to a couple other characters. First, there's your guy in the chair for most of the game, CIA agent Jason Bennett. Turns out that he's the one who called the Coast Guard after his initial raid on the ship failed. He tells you that the man behind it all, a Russian mobster named Dmitry Yusupov, who is also the leader of an oil rig called the Star of Sakhalin, is on board the ship, and that he will extract you from there in exchange for Yusupov's capture. Then there's the captured woman I mentioned earlier, the Russian Anna Kamsky, who you immediately decide to save. Anna is actually the daughter of the scientist Viktor Kamsky, who was blackmailed by Yusupov into experimenting on the exocells when they were accidentally discovered by the crew of the Star of Sakhalin. So in other words, we've got a hot foreign lady with villain affiliations in the game. Stamp it. And if you guessed that this led to the creation of bioweapons once it was discovered that the exocells can animate dead bodies, then congratulations! That's another stamp. Okay, I know I'm joking a lot about the similarities to Resident Evil 4 and whatnot, but, this game isn't so bad. It might not be amazing or anything, but it plays well enough, the graphics are nice for their time, the voice acting is good.
Where's this radio jammer I heard about?
Anichenko kept it in the magnetic field room. You can't get in. It has retinal scanner locks.
For the most part. And really, running around the boat shooting zombies is kind of fun. I'm having a pretty good time here. Or at least I was until I got to the oil rig. Yeah, at about the halfway point, Hansen and Anna actually board the Star Sakhalin in a bid to rescue Anna's father Victor, and oh boy. This is where things get a lot less fun. All the little flaws become extra apparent, and the game loses pretty much any direction it may have had. First of all, the game has no map. This wasn't a big issue when you were on the boat exactly, but it really starts getting on your nerves when you're prowling around a large confusing oil rig where every room looks exactly the same and all the signs are in frickin' Russian! And then when you add the game's tendency to constantly make you run from one end of the oil rig to the other just to find one access card, key item, or other shit just to open one door at a time, you better believe things are gonna get tedious. And you better get ready to hear this happen a lot.
Great, it's locked. The damn thing's stuck. 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 Great, it's locked. The damn thing's stuck.
Seriously though, I can't tell where the hell I'm going most of the time. And Hansen isn't much help either.
This looks like the wrong way.
Yes, I realized it was the wrong way when I didn't see anything new happening, you Dollar Tree Leon S. Kennedy looking asshole. Why don't you tell me where the right way is, quit bitching at me, and give me a damn map? It took me until like the last quarter of the game or so before I realized that Hansen knows Russian and that you can actually read those signs on the walls. Which you do by aiming at them with your gun. I mean, of course! Naturally! Why didn't I think of that? It's so intuitive! I mean, I'm guessing they did this for the sake of realism and to not clutter the screen with too many interaction prompts, but come on! Just let me press a button and read the text like a normal game, will you? Another thing that absolutely baffles me about this game is that you have no control over your saves. There are no save rooms and no save points, and there isn't even a manual save option in the menu. Instead, the game will just suddenly prompt you to save in one of 5 slots at certain key points in the game. And if you fail to use them when they pop up, well then fuck you! You won't get another chance till you get to the next one. Now, to be fair, there are a lot of these, so you're unlikely to lose a lot of progress if you save every time, but it's just such a weird way to go about it. It really robs the player of choice on how to play the game. And that's really one of the main problems with the games from here. It just stops being particularly interesting because it absolutely refuses to allow you to explore. Despite the confusing layout of the base, your path forward is linear, and outside of the occasional encounter with a new, somewhat uninspired enemy type, like say these 4-legged dog things, the creatures that turn invisible, and these Popeye the Sailor ass looking bastards, the game never really deviates from its move forward and shoot what moves gameplay. And yes, you could argue that that's also true for Resident Evil 4, but at least that game occasionally lets you choose a path or throws a puzzle or a boss battle at you in order to avoid getting monotonous. Cold Fear doesn't even have the goddamn common courtesy to do that much. Which, again, I'm assuming they did for the sake of realism, but all it really means is that there's next to no variety to be found in the game. Just hold the walk forward button and shoot the baddies, numbnuts. And as for the story, man, the story is such a mess. So, okay, here's the basic plot. Corrupt Russian mobsters find parasitic creatures on an oil rig and force a scientist to inject them into humans to create bioweapons, and an outbreak happens during a shipment of host bodies. Okay, cool, I'm with you so far. It's a pretty bog standard premise, but it gets the job done and throws your player character into the action well enough. It's the specific plot beats of the game that just make no goddamn sense. For example, right after you make it aboard the oil rig, Hansen is separated from Anna and is actually infected by one of the exocells. Make sure to stamp that one. Only to then immediately be cured by Victor's old colleague Pavel, who then pretty much immediately dies horribly without having any further effect on the plot. Alright, bye Pavel. I sure hope your corpse gets sent to those 45 countries your accent seems to be stitched together from. Then Hansen gets infected again, but this time the game at least has the decency to make you go look for a cure that he then uses on Anna when he finds her infected in what's supposed to be a heroic sacrifice. And then he just wakes up afterwards, no worse for wear, completely cured.
I know. Let's make a deal.
What? Now once again, to be completely fair, there was apparently a segment that was cut for time where you played as Anna who went out to look for a cure for Tom. But with that segment missing, this just comes across as if our protagonist is conveniently immune to the parasite whenever the script needs him to be. So that's fun. We also find out that Bennett is actually evil and wants Hansen to send him all the data on the exocell research so the government can sell it off to the highest bidder. Yeah, make sure to stamp that one. But Hansen basically tells him fuck you and erases all of it. I'll give him this. This is one of the few times he's actually kinda cool.
I want that data.
You want the rest of this? Come get it yourself.
Oh, and by the way, how did Anna get infected with the parasite in the first place, you ask? Well, her dad Victor went insane, started thinking that exocells were the key to immortality, mutated himself, stamp it, and wanted her to join him in said immortality when he found her on the star of Sakhalin by injecting her with a parasite against her will. Yeah, that's gonna make for a few fun months of family therapy. This means that Viktor Kamsky will be our final boss that is definitely not supposed to be a tyrant, how dare you even suggest it. Now you'd think that role would go to Yusupov, you know, the guy who actually started the whole damn mess, but no. He dies before you even meet Anna, and then you kill his boss Anishenko about halfway through the game, and then he turns out to just be a slightly tougher than usual soldier who you basically only kill because you need his eye for a retinal scanner.
Retinal scanner.
I mean, God forbid we probably establish our villains and make beating them mean anything, right? And just to really top off my list of complaints, this boss battle is clunky and unintuitive as all hell. You see, Anna and Hansen decide to plant bombs to blow up the oil rig and escape by chopper.
Get to the chopper!
No, we've been here before, I'm not doing that bit. But before they can plant the last explosives, Kamsky grows to giant size and starts chasing Anna around in what has to be the world's weirdest father-daughter game of tag. Now he may be invincible in this state, but you still need to start shooting at him immediately in order to distract him from Anna and get him to attack you instead. Because if you spend even 1 second looking around the arena and trying to figure out what to do, he'll just catch right up to her and kill her instantly. So much for joining Daddy in immortality, I guess. And once you've done this a few times, that's when the next part of the fight begins. You may try to start shooting again, but it turns out that Kamsky is still completely invincible, and Hansen only gives the player one hint to figure out how to beat him.
This guy is invincible. We're gonna have to get closer. Maybe
which obviously means that you have to purposely run into the attacks that killed you in the last boss phase, let him pick you up, and then pull off a close combat finisher 3 times in order to win. Well, what do you mean you hadn't figured that out? Did you not know you could do that? Neither did I. Until like 4/5 into the game when I suddenly got grabbed by an enemy and the screen just started yelling shoot at me. What do you mean shoot? That's all I've been doing for the last 5 hours! You mean to tell me I had a desperation move this whole time? So in other words, I basically played the game so well that I almost never learned a core gameplay mechanic that is essential to beating the final boss. Just absolutely top shelf game design right there. And that's it. You pull off a couple of close quarter shots, you get to the chop. Oh, damn it! Hansen then blows the Orbrick up and the game just kind of ends there.
It's all right. I'll take care of this.
Papa, I'm sorry.
Goodbye, Papa.
No, I'm kidding, of course. Those aren't the real credits. These are. No, your ears do not deceive you. That is indeed Marilyn Manson singing Use Your Fist and Not Your Mouth on the soundtrack. God, it's just so edgy. You know, I can just imagine Cold Fear and Obscure sitting in the back of the classroom, carving anarchy symbols into their desk with their weird uncle's butterfly knives, and talking about how nonconformist they are. Yeah, that's how you know you've got a real 2005 game on your hands. So, yeah, that's Cold Fear, and look, I know I went off and I made a lot of jokes, but I stand by what I said in the beginning. This game isn't all that bad. At least not in the first half. Look, I'm being completely serious when I say that I love the boat as a location, that I love the shoot the head mechanic, and that there really are a few genuinely creepy and upsetting scare moments in this game. But they never end up paying off in a big enough way to elevate the game beyond being a borderline rail shooter that just happens to allow you to blindly stumble off the track every now and then. And sadly, that's honestly kind of what I expected from this developer. You see, Darkworks also created Alone in the Dark and New Nightmare in 2001, which is another game that was so busy trying to be Resident Evil instead of its own thing that it ended up feeling weirdly unfinished instead. In fact, according to what I've read, Cold Fear was originally supposed to be another Alone in the Dark game. And before that, a Time Crisis game if you can believe that. So it's really been through the ringer and changed direction a lot during development. But I think what really bothers me at the end of the day is that this game could have been so much more unique than it is. Like in many games of this time, playing it unlocks some behind the scenes concept art. Remember, this was a bit before you could easily just look this stuff up online, and they had so many cool plans for this game. I mean, look at this stuff. Mutated seagulls, penguins, whales. It might sound goofy on paper, but I think that with a bit more focus on a cold, watery climate where you have to deal with all sorts of mutated wildlife, this game could have been way more unique and interesting. But pretty much none of it made it into the game. The only thing that remains is this parasite-infested whale carcass that just kind of ends up feeling like a gigantic cock tease now. Nah, let's abandon the game's unique setting at the halfway point and throw in some vaguely dog-shaped thingamabobs every few rooms. Yeah, that should keep the player busy enough. Look, Cold Fear is a perfectly fine game if you just want to walk forward and shoot the bad guys for a while. I mean, I can see why it has a small fan base. I can understand why it was considered for a film adaptation at one point. There is some decent fun to be had here. But I also have to admit that it really does kind of look like a textbook case of we have Resident Evil 4 at home. I don't think the game was deliberately made to be a ripoff though. The development timelines don't really support that idea. But it does feel like it just gave up on being its own thing halfway through for whatever reason. Still, if you're looking for a few hours of decently entertaining action, then there's certainly no harm in throwing $5 at this thing on Steam. Just don't expect to be playing some kind of hidden survival horror gem, because this ain't it. Now let's see how well I did on that stamp card. Oh man, I missed one. Oh man, I was really looking forward to that Raccoon City trip. Well, I guess I'll just have to find another vacation spot. Hey, wait a minute. Where'd this come from? What is this, a letter? Hold on. Let me just,
In my restless dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did.
Uh-oh. Hey everybody, and thank you so much for watching. I really hope you're enjoying Resident Evil Requiem out there. I'm still waiting for my copy personally. As always, I want to say a special thanks to They Call Me A, John Aljetts, Only Joking, Elinor Strawhed, The Danish Penguin, Spatial Paladin, Silvermoon Ravenwolf, John G. Robinson, Warren Miller, Andreas Wilsom, and everyone else who supports me on Patreon. It really does mean the world to me, I can't stress that enough. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to press the like button, subscribe to the channel if you happen to be new, and tell me all about your own favorite Resident Evil knockoff in the comments below. There's a lot of them out there, I'm sure you can think of at least one. And don't worry folks, videos may have been slow lately, but I'm not done. There's more coming, so keep an eye on the channel. Bye for now.